If you are new to Docker and have questions what Docker is and Docker images and containers and how Docker works, in this tutorial you will get answers to these questions and also the practical side of the Dockers. We're going to create Docker image and then containers, and also we're going to publish our Docker image on DockerHub. Before we go to Docker, we have to know what is virtualization and how it works. So the simple way is creating virtual machines. On top of that, you're going to install your dependencies, and then your application will be running on different kind of virtual machines. So different virtual machines for different applications. But the easy way is now using containers. You have the same operating system, one computer, but then you can install a Docker engine on top of that, which is container engine also called. Then you can create different containers on top of that, and each container will contain your own dependencies and applications. One container is totally isolated from another one, and they have nothing to do with each other, but you can let them to talk with each other if you want using multi-container environment. And then you have to use Docker networks to connect these containers with each other. To use Docker, you have to know Docker components, which is three more important R's: client, and Docker daemon, and registry. The Docker client you're going to use to interact with the Docker daemon, and Docker daemon is there to manage the images and the containers running on the machine. And registry is a place where we're going to store our images that could be private or also public. Docker image is another most important component that we have to use it to create our applications and containers on top of that. So Docker image is based on different layers, but always you need a base image. On top of that, you can install or configure your other images like this. In this case will be like Apache server. Then you can install Emacs, other dependencies, and then Apache web server. And on top of that, you're going to create your codes, and on top of that, you're going to create your containers. And from one image, you can have many different containers which will be running this at the same time, but the base image will be only one. So Docker image is a file comprised of multiple layers and used to execute codes in Docker containers. In simple words, images are just a set of instructions used to create Docker containers. So how we can get a Docker image? First, you have to create a Docker file. It's nothing except of just a few code of lines which will tell to Docker how to create your image. After you have the Docker file, using a command docker build, you're going to create a Docker image. And after the image is there, then you can use Docker run to create a Docker container on top of the image. And container is a runtime instance of an image and allows developers to package applications with all parts needed, such as libraries and other dependencies. Multi-container environment will also possible just using Docker Compose, and you can run at the same time many container with only one command. We can see at the end of this video how we can create Docker image, Docker files, and also Docker containers. To publish our images on the public repository or maybe a private repository, then you have to first create your image, which will be locally done public as a build image, and then you have to commit the image. And after the image is committed, then you have to push this image to the repository. That could be like DockerHub repository, which is a public free repository. You can store your images there. After the image is there on the registry, so other people or other developers or member of the other teams, they can pull that image and run and create a container on top of that on their own machine, and then they can test your applications. To publish an image, there are a few steps you have to take. The first is that as a developer, you're going to create a GitHub repository and you commit all your codes there. Using GitHub Actions, you can create as auto build Docker image, and then will be pushed this image to DockerHub. After the DockerHub has the image, so other people, you can give them the links, or they can just, you can give it publicly so people can download it back or pull it back to their machines and create containers using your image. But you can also use other images. They are public images that is like kind of open source, and you can create on top of that your containers. To use Docker in your computers, you have to go to Docker website and to install Docker engine. Based on your image and operating system you are using now in your computer, so you can go there and choose one. So now I'm using Ubuntu, and I'm going to go through this documentation steps to install Docker engine on my computer. So you can also go through these documentation steps and install it. After the installation is done, then you can use this application I created here. You can also create the same one here just for the testing. So it's only a Flask application, Python, which returns back as a web page, hello from Docker containers. And this will be running on port 0 localhost with a port 3000. So to create a Docker image, we need a Docker file. So the Docker file gonna explain how the image will be. So we're gonna use a base image of Python. Then we create a working directory inside this image, and then we're gonna copy the requirements files. The requirement only contains a Flask applications and the version package that we're gonna use it for our Python application. After the file is copied to this working directory, then we're gonna run pipe install requirements, and then we're gonna go after the installation of requirements that we have for our applications. With the command copy, we're gonna copy everything from the current working directory, which is now our files out there, to the working directory inside the image we have. After the copy is finished, then we're gonna run the command Python, which is running our applications app.py. So to do that, open your terminal. So I'm using the integrated terminal in Visual Studio Code. You can also use this one. Now you can run Docker. You must be on the same directory, which is what Docker file is. So there you can build also Docker image. To see all the files, we can just say ls. So the Docker file is also there. Now we can go and say Docker build, and we have to say minus tag is used to name the image, and we're going to say my applications, and the tag will be latest. We can say not latest 0.1, and then we're gonna give it from, you have to put a dot. It means that from the current directory where this Docker file exists, and then we're gonna hit enter. So this use only the cache, but if there is not in the cache the files that it needs, like the base images, so it will download it, all these images from DockerHub. Our application is successfully created here, the Docker image. To see our image, you can just type Docker image ls, and then there is our applications, my app 0.1 with a tag, and then just a few seconds before we create it. Don't care about other stuff, so they were just for the testing I used it. So this is our new image we just created. Now we can create a new container on top of that image. Then you have to run docker run -- name. You can give it name of containers, my Flask app, and then we say the port, we have to attach a port from localhost to container, and that will be minus space for the ports. And then we're going to use a 10,000 from my localhost to the container port, which will be 3000, as I said here on the application. It will be listening on the port 3000, so this port will be inside the container. So there we have to give it here. And now we need to specify the image. From that we're going to create a Docker container, and it's my app, and then the tag is 0.1. Hit enter, and now it must be running in container for us. So this is a running instance of our image, and you can click this part, or you can just go to your browser here, and then you see, you can type here localhost on port 10,000 or 1000 or 10,000. Just let me check back. Port 1000. So we can hit enter, and here we can see that our application is running on that port. Hello from Docker containers. To see if it's running in Docker container, we can go here, we can cancel this, Control C, and then you can type to see our images and containers. You can Docker image ls, it will give you all the Docker images, and you can see also Docker container ls, it will show you all the containers that you have. So here's my Docker. This is the one container is running, but this is not the one we have already. We can say -a to see all the containers, and here is our applications. We just closed it. Here's it exited a few seconds before, so this is not more running anymore. We close the application, the container. So you can see also containers like that. You can use also Docker network ls. You can see all the networks that Docker offers. So this is bridge, host, and none. About the Docker, it's a big topic in Docker networks. We will gonna create another tutorial about the Docker networks. So now we have our Docker image and Docker containers, and now we can publish our Docker image to DockerHub. To publish our Docker images to DockerHub, you have to create an account on DockerHub. You have to go to hub.docker.com and create an account. I have already created an account, and there I have a few test applications, images that is I already pushed it. But now we're gonna push our new Docker image, which is my app. First, we have to tag this image. We use Docker tag for that, and then Docker tag, and then we're gonna give the ID of, or we can use also the name, or we can use the ID is better. It's the same ID, yeah. And then we're gonna give the name of our repository or hub repository, which is my one is like this / and we give the name of the app, my Flask app, and then we also give the tag 0.1 release. After the image is tagged, we can see Docker images, so it is tagged already there. Now we're gonna push it, Docker push, and we say add this image, and then we give the version of that. So let's say 1. minus release. This tag will be saved on the DockerHub. So now we can just wait a few seconds, and this is gonna push our image to our repository. But to do that, before you have to also log in with the Docker login to the Docker repository using bash, and then this will also authenticate automatically. Now you can go to our web, to the browser, and see if the new image is there. We're gonna refresh our page, and there is our image, my Flask application. Just a few seconds before we just pushed it. So this is the way that you can publish your image, and you can share this image with other people that they can use it. You can also make it as a public view, but you can also make it private if you want. So now our image is already published, and we can see it was pushed to the DockerHub. So now we can download it back and pull it back to our local machine and use it. To do that, so first we're going to delete our local image, which is this one. To do that, you have to say docker rmi, docker remove image, and then we have to give the ID, and then we're going to say this one, or you can use the repository, or you can use also the ID. So both of them will be working. As name, you just use the name, then hit enter. So this image is already deleted. Yeah, so the image is not anymore there, but now we want to create a Docker container based off that image. So we're going to pull it back from DockerHub. Then we're going to say docker run, and its name, we're going to give a name of for the containers, my Flask 001, and then on the port, which be running 8000, and we're gonna say port on the containers 3000, and the image that we're gonna give it, we're gonna go there on the website, and from there we're gonna copy this name, the whole name, and then paste it here, and then hit enter. So it says that it's not locally existed, then it so it asks that we didn't give the tag, so we forgot to tag, so there's no image with the tag of latest. Our image is with the tag 0.1, I think so. Let's check it. So here is the tag name. So we have 0.1 release. We need that one. Minus release. And it must be working. and you can see that it downloaded the image back from DockerHub, and it will be running here. Now we can click here, and it will be running on the port 8000. So here we can see that our container is now back running on port 8000. So this was the way that you can pull it back, the image which you published before.